I think we have to speak in English, and that's the language of this talk. Hello to everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here with us in this very short talk. It will be a very informal discussion about, and the topic is Autofficina Futuro. That is a project in which the School of Design has been involved at Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao. I'm Luisa Collina. I'm full professor here at the School of Design, and I'm the former dean of the School of Design. That's the reason why I have been the scientific responsible for this huge project. It's a tiny installation, but it's a dense project. And today, we wanted to shortly present you our experience related to Autofficina Futuro with the help of two guests. One guest is here with me, and he's Lorenzo Imbesi. He's full professor of design at La Sapienza University in Rome, and he's also at the moment recently elected president of Cumulus International Association, the network of schools, universities in the field of art, media, and design worldwide. Online, due to illness, we hope that it's not so ill, but to temperature, Marco Barsottini of CamerAnebbia, that it's a group, collective group of artists that have been involved in this project. So just a few words about Autofficina. It's a long story that started 2 years ago. So if you remember, 2 years ago, it was autumn 2020, and we were really in one of the most difficult moments of the pandemic. So we were all, the university was closed, everybody was on distance at home, and I received an email by a person of the staff of Lord Norman Foster saying that Lord Norman Foster wanted to get in contact with me. So do you remember you were a little bit completely isolated in our homes, and I said, oh, this is a joke. Somebody didn't know what to do, and he decided to send me this nice email. Then I said, okay, but anyway, even if it's a joke, I will reply in any case. So I said, okay, Lord Norman Foster, I will be available tomorrow at this time. And the day after, he called me. He called me. He's as also Professor Brevi, who was part of the scientific board, can describe you when you speak and when you meet Lord Foster. He's always very polite, but also very charismatic. So with a very high level of capability of explain you in a very easy way what he has in mind. So he called me and he said that he wanted to organize an exhibition at Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao for the spring 2022. So remember, 2 years in advance, a little bit less than 2 years in advance. And he wanted to conclude, to end the exposition that was based really on cars, on autos, on art, and on architecture. So on the big relationship between the design of cars, that is one of the passions of Lord Foster, in relation to the city and in relation to the most important artistic movements of the last century. So this was the topic of the exhibition, and he said, I didn't want to conclude the exhibition with a picture of today. I want to end it with visions about the future. And which is the best way to have visions of the future? The best way is to involve schools in the field of architecture and design, that with students that are able to design visions about how will be the future of mobility, not just of cars, by the end of the next century. So the date was by 2086, because 2086 was considered to be, depending on how you define the birthday of autos, the 200th anniversary of the birth of automobile. So how we will move in 2086, how will we as persons, as individuals, but also as communities, but also our goods, how they will move around the world. This was the question of for all the different schools. Here you can see the plan of the exhibition, and these flowers that you see in the middle, really beautiful cars that were displayed in the gallery. It has been a very interesting exhibition, a very expensive exhibition, because to really, on just the transportation of these beautiful cars, most of them were owned by private collectors in the United States, was already a nightmare. They traveled by plane, just to give you an idea, because in the spring of this year, all the shipments with cargo were a problem. So beautiful, wonderful cars, and this is the final space inside the building of Franco Gehry that was dedicated to schools. So really a nice place, and it was at the end of the visit. So the visitors entered in all these different galleries and had this final corridor, and inside this corridor there was a timeline with all the most important deadlines related to the history of automobiles, and at the end this space dedicated to schools and universities. This is the list of the 15th international schools. Originally there were 16, and one at the end they had to cancel it. And you can see that it's really a broad vision worldwide. So from Art Center of Pasadena, Politecnico di Milano, ETH in Zurich, TU in the Netherlands, MIT in Boston, Tokyo University in Japan, University of Mondragon and University of Navarra in Spain, Royal College of Art, RCA in London, Tecnológico de Monterrey in Mexico, Hongik University in South Korea, Tsinghua University in China, Yale School of Architecture in the US, University of Cape Town in South Africa, and Umeå University in Sweden. So we knew almost, not really perfectly, but we knew who were our competitors. So you can think about us that were starting to think about how to bring a contribution of the School of Design, thinking also to these really great institutions that were invited as well together with us. What is interesting is that Norman Foster really wanted to have the School of Design at Politecnico, because somebody said, yeah, probably it was a mistake that he wanted to invite the School of Architecture. No. He was really confident on the fact that he wanted to have us on board. And so what I won't explain so much how the project, because it's not the right place. And we also published an interesting book that here I can show it to you. It's nice because there is a post-it, because I'm not, that this book belongs to one of the students that were involved in the project. So it's only a list. So we try to describe the history of this project through this publication, in which you can enter into the details of the project. So it's not, today it's better to give attention to our guests, but in any case, the idea was to involve students like most of you, and students with different backgrounds, with different also seniority, from the students of the master course in transportation and automobile design, led by Professor Brevin, to the students of industrial design. These students were at bachelor level, so little bit younger, 2 students that were involved in a very short research and design workshop of the school, to another workshop that has been organized within the postgraduate school of Politecnico that is called Polydesign. So diversity, this for us is always very important because diversity brings innovation, brings different perspectives. This is the scientific board in order to show you that we didn't want to have a one-man show, but we wanted to have really a team, an orchestra that would give different contribution. And so here we can see most of the professors and researchers that have been involved inside the scientific board, together with Flora Gaetani, that I really want to thank for the also organization of today's event. And this has been the key values. So just to say, we don't want to start from a white sheet. We want to have diversity, different kinds of projects, but we want to share some common values so that we don't go completely in different directions. One common value was the tradition of Made in Italy. So we were thinking in this arena of different schools and universities, we were the only one from Italy, and so we wanted to stress this heritage. We started to bring on the table the idea of Autofficina. Autofficina as the idea of a body shop, a place not where cars are just repaired, but a place where cars are conceived, where are designed, are hacked, prototypes. So this idea of innovation, of prototyping inside an auto body shop. So the place where handcraft is combined with the high advanced technologies. That's why we arrived to the third point, an experimental approach. We wanted to have the idea of really not to be too abstract, but to be very concrete with also the idea of beauty and quality of cars, quality of projects, quality of experiences, quality also of the internal space transportation, but also a systemic vision. So not just cars, not just vehicles, but also system services, trying to think at different scales, from the scale of the vehicle to the scale of the city, to the scale of the territory, to the scale of the world. Finally, we wanted to have a bridge between scientific knowledge and aesthetics. This is something that is strongly related to Politecnico, to have a plurality, heterogeneity, because in our school we don't have one approach, but we like, as I mentioned, diversity. And the idea, in any case, to try to speak with different projects, but with a single voice. That this is not very easy, and that's the reason why we asked to CamerAnebbia to help us in try to bring all these values that we had in common, but also all these projects that were very different one from the other one, into one attractive synthetic story. And I will ask to Marco, probably it would be better if I asked to Marco to give, to tell us, describe us what work you did, and then we will ask to Lorenzo Imbesi to try to highlight to us which is the role of the School of Design in this kind of events. Marco, it's your turn. We don't listen to you. We cannot hear you. Il microfono.
No, ma il microfono spento.
Marco, il microfono spento.
Ah oui.
Hai voglia di parlare? Marco? Nice because we did all the tests.
Okay, now?
Okay.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm sorry not to be here there with you for this hill that is not very hard, but it's not the best thing. Just to follow in the things that Luisa said, our approach was to try to find some. Sorry, you can listen.
Yeah. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is try to find a common way to show all the different approach of the Politecnico and of the design of the automotive question. So have those different typology of content, of course, can create in the visitors of a museum like the Guggenheim chaos in a way, and also maybe too much information after a visit process that is quite expensive because the Guggenheim is very high, is very big, and the exhibition was very full of beauty, no, and information too. So we think about the space first, and the space was a open space, very high, and with an open exhibition that we have to consider to stay. So that means that we have to consider to stay in the same place with other university and other and other approach to exhibit their ideas. So was a very difficult task because we have to design and think about an installation that can create a beautiful environment without fight against the other installation and the other areas. Normally, to create an immersive experience, we like studio, like artist or artisan, we prefer to call us artisan, not artist. But anyway, we normally use a dark environment with a very theater approach, I can say, to create a sort of detachment, a sort of different moment from the normal reality of the visitor. In that case, we cannot use this approach, so we cannot create a box inside another box, and we prefer to work in a horizontal way using a wall of the space. The project, starting from the content, like I said in the beginning, was very multi-approach project and also very different kind of contents. And so we decided to create a big scenario that is running behind the content itself. So the project that all the students and the courses that Luisa described before produce. And working on the concept of Autofficina that Luisa said before. The Autofficina in the sense of the quality of the work and the process of ideas and design that was one of the characteristic of the design in Italy in the automobile. Before the industrial approach, of course, and that's handmade things and also the possibility to create a conceptual environment that run behind the project mixing all the elements that can related the environment from the past to the future. So we tried to create a surrealistic space that can sustain the project itself. And the installation was the concept is very simple. 5 big monitors can react simply to the presence of the people. So just coming closer to the wall is a gesture that means for us a sort of attention, reaction to the images. And when a visitor stay in front of one of the monitor, the content of the project itself starts and blow up in the monitor. 5 people in real time simultaneously can listen and watch the content, and after a while the paysage, the environment behind the graphics symbol change slowly, and other 5 story can be told. So at the end is an installation that can produce 10 storytelling in one single place, and leaving to the visitors the choice to the time to stay in front of it. So we thought that was the perfect solution for this kind of installation, because like I said in the beginning, we try to figure out how is the feeling of the visitors after 1.5 hours of exhibition, because is that area, like Luisa said at the beginning, was the final part of the visitor path. So for that reason, this installation can be used used in different way, with attention or not, but something of the vision, using the imaginary of the Politecnico can pass through the people. And at the end, I want to just say that we produced just the video scenario, and all the rest of the content was the most difficult part, to create a sort of choral the graphics approach and design was made from the Lab Imagine of the Politecnico, that I want to thank you again, and with a little bit of supervision from us. And that is the process that we use to think and create the installation, that can be really different for each process of visit.
Thank you. Thank you, Marco. I think that it really came out, the idea that the projects of the students really arrived to the visitors of Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao. So it was really the original projects by colleagues of you that has been not just refined in from a communication point of view. So these very small pills of very small videos, but the drawings, the concept, and so on remain. As curatorial team, we organize the contents, trying to give to find categories in terms of scale, from the micro from wearable technologies like intelligent shoes, smart shoes in order to jump and to run, to huge systems in order to move goods inside within a territory, and so on. This blue elements that you can see were the interactive surfaces. So when a visitor was coming close to these areas, as a pop-up came out the different stories of the colleagues of you. So the idea of a really very, from my point of view, as it's the work of CamerAnebbia, I can tell it, very impressive and very powerful vision for also visitors that were tired after a long visit to the exhibition. And it's not really probably by only an idea of being lucky that this part of the exhibition has been now been invited by Autostadt Wolfsburg. I don't know if Professor Brevi knew it. Next year, it will be hosted at Volkswagen headquarters in Germany. And I have to say that Lord Foster was a little bit disappointed because Volkswagen invited just the future gallery to go to Wolfsburg and not the rest of the exhibition. So at the end, the future visions of the students of architecture and design worldwide were considered to be more, I don't know, more interesting, more inspiring for the community of Volkswagen rather than the history of really beautiful vehicles. And so I come to the point of Professor Lorenzo Imbesi, who is here with us, with his several caps, but probably today the strongest cap is the one of president of a community of schools and universities. Can you tell us something about first the association, Cumulus, and then about the possible contribution of the schools to future vision?
Thank you, Luisa. I guess we have also some slides. Now, first of all, I would like to thank Luisa for inviting. Now, you need to know that Luisa is my president. I mean, the first time I got in Cumulus and when I was elected for my first term in the board, Luisa was my president. And like, you know, you never forget your first love. I'm not gonna forget my first president. So she's still my president. And thank you for inviting. And of course, this is a job I'm starting to learn, being the president of Cumulus, and I'm learning a lot, still learning a lot from Luisa, which I'm keeping asking every day, suggestions. Now, I'm not gonna speak about the future of mobility because I'm not entitled to do that. I probably may speak about the past of the two wheels mobility, but that's not as much interesting here. And I think that it's perhaps we can speak about the value of internationalization and interdisciplinarity as this kind of educational experience is important for all of us. This is important also for an association like Cumulus. Now, this is a title that I think I'm bringing with me every time I'm invited, which is the International Space of Knowledge, which I think that is pretty much what we always are trying somehow to build up. This is an international space of knowledge where people from different countries, people with different backgrounds, they try pretty much to share their knowledge together. And this is a challenge. This is a great challenge we need to understand, because until few years ago, this was not possible. And this might still not be possible in the future if we don't take care of this. And this is pretty much what Cumulus has been trying to do in the past and now also for the future, because we have many, many challenges. I can see we have many, many challenges at the moment. Okay. Now, just a very quick background about myself. Again, International Space of Knowledge. Before getting back to Sapienza University of Rome, I was the chair of a master. We used to call it the Master of Interdisciplinary Design at Carleton University in Canada, in Ottawa, where also Luisa was coming came pretty much a few times. The idea in that master is getting together students with completely different backgrounds. As you know, Canada is also, it does not have a strong identity. It has always been welcoming people from different countries. So it was a country of migration. So I recall we had students that were really coming from anywhere. And I remember clearly that it was pretty much a strange post-colonial space because, for example, if you were asking to the Chinese students that were born in Canada, they were still mentioning themselves as Chinese students, not as Canadian. So that was pretty much interesting because it was a mix up of things together. Because I remember they were used to speak Chinese at home, English at university, and they were still keeping that kind of strong identity, but then mixing also with local culture. So very, very interesting. At the same time also we were having students from different backgrounds. We were welcoming students, of course, from product design. We had a very strong industrial design bachelor, 4 years, but in Canada it's 4 years. We were having also students from architecture, from engineer, because we were in the faculty of engineering and design. And we also were having students from psychology. We were having students from, let's say, architecture, I said that, you know, human studies, you know, people from the arts, for example. And that was a challenge because having students that didn't have the same kind of background was a huge challenge for us because at the end of the 2 years, we were not educating the new designers, but we were educating, we understood at some point that we were educating researchers in design because also the kind of approach was pretty much research oriented. So that was pretty much interesting because at that point, it looks like that the education, you know, while you were sharing the same space with different people, different backgrounds, different, you know, cultures, you know, then the focus was not anymore pretty much about building up the future designers, but trying to understand what we could do for design from very, very different backgrounds. So we were developing projects that were interdisciplinary, pretty much as the project that Luisa was mentioning until once. I am from Sapienza University Rome, so I was back in 2014 at Sapienza University Rome, where now I am the director of Sapienza Design Research. Why I am mentioning this center? The reason is because we are collecting together until 12 different departments at Sapienza. Now, I don't want to just celebrate Sapienza at Politecnico because this is not the case. But Sapienza is particularly because we have all the kind of disciplines that you could get. If you want to learn Sanskrit, you can learn how to write and speak in Sanskrit. If you want to learn engineering, of course, you can do that, but then you get also psychology, you get everything, really. Medicine, we have very strong faculty of medicine. Our rectress, which is the very first woman who is a rectress in our university, she is from medicine. She is, I don't know how to say that in English, odontoiatria, you know, that she's playing with teeth. Anyway, she's studying, you know, teeth. Anyway, so very strange, but she's the rectress. She's our rectress anyway. So our research center here, Sapienza Design Research, is matching together 12 different departments. So, of course, our department that is about planning and design. We have also connecting together also the department in architecture. We have also the one in computer science. We have also the one in mechanical engineering about all the mechanical processes of production. We have psychology for the user experience. We have also human studies where we have a strong part over there. We have a strong school over there in fashion design, in fashion studies, not fashion design, fashion studies. And so many, of course, another department in medicine because we do a lot of projects on health and design. So the idea here, this is pretty much to understand how much design can be the glue connecting, so completely different background. Of course, the focus is doing, you know, research projects, which is getting, keeping design at the center, but it is connecting pretty much all in different ways the different departments. So that's very interesting because it is showing us pretty much the power that design has to connect, to bridge different kind of knowledge, and which again, I think it was very, very beautiful done by this project of Luisa. Now, we were speaking about the space of knowledge. Conferences are an incredible space where people coming from completely different, part of the globe can meet together, they share knowledge. Many, many times they are also coming from different backgrounds. Politecnico of Milano organized a very beautiful conference in 2015. We learned a lot from that. And then, of course, we organized this conference, which was the European Academy of Design Conference. That was in 2017. And we were looking into the future of design. So the name was Design for Next. And we were also somehow twisting this kind of title with different kind of keywords like technology, design for next technology, society, design for next society, and you name it. It was a great success. We had many, many people, a huge number of papers. I recall we were like something, it was before the pandemic. Fortunately, it was before the pandemic. So we got something like 500, 600 people in Rome. Oh, of course, the merit is not just us, it's Rome. People come to see Rome probably more than coming to the conference. But in any case, Design Cultures was the other conference that we organized. That was in 2021, where we took this as a big design challenge. So the idea, because still we were in the middle of pandemic, so we didn't know if we could go in presence or it was online. So we had, for us, the very first hybrid conference. So we designed this as a sort of service design project. So we wanted to provide the same kind of experience that people could get in presence, somehow having that also online. Just to give you an example, if you go to a conference, you always get back home and you keep your tag, your paper tag. And sometimes you also have a number of different tags, just in your room, which is pretty much the postcard and let's say the souvenir you bring back. So how can you give that, if the people are online, Then we took this kind of picture and many other kind of pictures like this, and we printed this as postcards. So to all the people that registered to the conference, we sent in advance the postcard so that they could have their tag in the end. So like they were in presence. And of course, you go to a conference not only for hearing, to listening to papers, but you also go to understand the local culture. So places, food. Food is very important. You want to have good food, right? So we got a food designer that, during the lunch breaks, she was going in, let's say, to the best place to eat supplì, the best place to eat pizza, the best place to get ice cream. And she was interviewing the cook and other people to also speak about the history, because that kind of food has a long history, about the history and how to make it and so. But we wanted also to make it physical. So in the same morning that she was speaking about pizza, for example, we were sending to everyone a sort of tutorial on how to make pizza, so that also people in India or in China or in South America or anywhere, they could get their pizza according to the tutorial we were sending in the morning. So again, it's a physical experience. And of course, we got into museums so that we had, critics of art speaking about the artwork and so on. So it was our challenge is, how can we provide the same, it's not the same kind, but a sort of kind of physical experience, even if you're online. So hybridizing, making a sort of multi-layers of different kind of experiences. Now, Cumulus. I'm devoted to Cumulus, and as Luisa, of course, because she still is now, she's now our honorary president, and of course she's keeping being present in every meeting and conferences and so on. So it's a family, it's a community, it's a family, I would say. But This family started with the Erasmus project. And it's important to speak about the Erasmus here because it's pretty much somehow related to the project that Luisa was speaking about. Erasmus project since the 20th century allowed many students to go in a different place to study. Now, this is for us normal because we used to travel and to take the same kind of class in a different school in Europe, around in Europe, and even worldwide. But before that time, it was not possible. So it was difficult because you might not have the agreement, you might not find the same kind of class, you might not find the same kind of number of credits, so you could not bring the credits that you were having in another school in your university. So that was complicated. So the Erasmus project allowed many students and also many educators and professors to travel all around. Cumulus started with the Erasmus project, started in order to help to network the different schools all around in Europe. So I find that was a very important, and that was related with the Bologna process. Not sure how many of you have heard about the Bologna process, but the Bologna process was pretty much about starting the European higher education area. So which is an area, a space where people could share their knowledge. That's pretty much the message that's behind that. But sharing a space of knowledge means also sharing some common values, which is more difficult. We may share probably knowledge, we can be in the same, around the table, speak about our background, about our ideas, but it's more difficult that we share exactly the same kind of values, which are also ethical values, and sometimes also political values, I would say. The European space of higher education is based on academic freedom, being free to move around and to speak freely, institutional autonomy, and the participation of teachers and students in the governance of higher education. This is, again, something very complicated and difficult. That's not always recognized, and it was not always recognized before. Generous academic quality, economic development, and social cohesion. That means that knowledge has a value, has a social value. It's not only about students to learn something, but it has a social value because it helps the social growth and also the economic development of a country. Encourages students and teachers to move freely, of course, helps employability of learning graduates. Again, it's not only about teaching, teaching and learning in secondary school or at university, but, it's about lifelong. It's about any age. And we understand that education is so important that is asking us, to learn every day something new. And also be sometimes also very specific, like the project, the workshop around the future of mobility. Respect students, faculty members as members of the academic community, opens up to the outside world and collaborates with higher education in other parts of the world. Now, this is Cumulus until a few years ago, not many years ago. As you can see, at that time it was 281 full members. This is what it is now, 368 members. Every member is a school or a university or an academy of arts and design. It's huge. It's all around the world. So that means that if we count, of course, this is a rough estimate. It's not precise, but we could count like 800 to 26,000 bachelor students. It's a huge community, huge. 145,000 master students, 20,000 doctorates, and it could be even more than that. And as you can see, this is spread out in the world. So, of course, Cumulus started in Europe, but at some point it opened it up to be global. So now it really reached every single country and continent around the world. And as you can see, of course, still Europe has an important weight, as you can see, but also Asia and China have incredible importance. America a little bit less, but still very important. And of course also Africa and Oceania. And this is a map about the number of the programs that are offered worldwide. I'm going to skip a bit. Now, this map is interesting because it shows pretty much the kind of courses that are the programs that are provided globally through Cumulus. As you can see, communication, graphic design, and product design are at the top. But also you can see many, many others that are more innovative, like service design, sustainable and social innovation, new media design, and then theory and history of design, and so on. So, and that's pretty much interesting because it gives us a a map of what is happening in design education. I'm not going to go too much detail. We are here focusing on each continent, so Europe, Asia, very important, Asia again, and then Northern America, and South America, still divided, as you can see, in the different kind of topics and programs, Africa, Middle East, China. And this is something that we always share also with Luisa. Cumulus, we say that it's the coffee break. It's not the only international organization. It's not the only space of knowledge where you can share, your experience and your research with other people, because you can have DRS, Design Research Society, ISDR. We are going to have a future conference at Politecnico, and many, many more. But we always say that Cumulus is the coffee break, because sometimes you go to a conference not only to listen to a paper, but also to get a coffee. And when you get a coffee, you're not just getting the coffee itself, you're not just getting food, but you start networking. You have that kind of relaxed environment where you can open up, share knowledge, and maybe even start new projects. We always say that this is pretty much, Cumulus, which is different from all the other international organizations. Now, when we speak about internationalization, I think that nowadays we need to say a word, send a message about peace. Of course, we always had wars all around. So it's not only about Ukraine, the war that we have between Ukraine and Russia, but we have many, many, conflicts that are all around in the globe. And this is not new. And unfortunately, probably is not going to be new in the future. But we need to say a word about this. Because, Cumulus, and while we are building up this kind of space of knowledge, and a workshop, an international workshop, of course, has an important role, to put together, to bridge together people from different countries, not only different disciplines, but from different countries, to build a space of peace. You probably know this picture. This is the border between Mexico and US with the wall. It's a border, of course. It's a limit. It's a limit that is dividing families. It's a limit that is dividing people. But also, it's a limit to share, knowledge in a way. So, of course, I, believe that it could be an utopia to think about a world without any limit. But still, we have a role in this. Let's think about the concept of border, to replace the concept of border with the concept of contact area. What if the border is a place where you can meet, when you can share knowledge, when you can do things together, when you can have the families meet again, like in the border between, Tijuana and San Diego. In that place, during the weekends, all the families that were divided, they meet together again. They even celebrate marriages, So so they're really playing with this kind of concept of limit in order to think about this is not anymore a limit. This is an opportunity to meet. And just to the very, very end, this is Felix Guattari. They wrote an important book for me that is 1000 Plateau. And they say in this book that knowledge is living only within the mobile borders, in the intersections, in the interferences, where everything is a question of contamination. And I believe that what has been done in the workshop from Luisa about future mobility, and of course also the concept of mobility, is about contaminating and getting people in touch with each other. So I think really that experience, as these experiences, other experiences are pretty much, good for making this kind of loop where people really can meet again. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lorenzo, for this really inspiring presentation. And it's a fact that we went through the list of all the different schools and universities invited at Guggenheim Museum, and more than half of the schools are members of Cumulus. So just to give you the idea of the extension of this organization. And I think that in the future plans of the president of Cumulus, there is the idea to really reinforce the way of organizing meetings and workshops and seminars among students of different schools. So I showed you the picture of the Gallery of the Futures with the different schools and the different projects. One step forward could be not to have different schools with different soccer teams with different colors, but to have different multicultural and multidisciplinary teams that are approaching the topic from different perspectives. And I think that Cumulus could be one of these platforms. What do you think?
Yes, the idea here is somehow to create chances for the students to meet. Summer school is a great opportunity. So what we're thinking now is in the future, not only having calls for conferences, but also calls for summer schools, so that it's about a workshop to bring together different students from different countries, pretty much like the one you've been doing with the future of mobility, with a specific topic. That would have been fitting perfectly, for one of the future summer school of Cumulus. And this is also letting us understand that the future of education is not anymore related only to the classrooms of a university or an academia. The future of education, there are many, many places where you can also study, where you can also learn. Just to give you an example, the labs or the digital manufacturing. Those places are becoming, for example, educational places where really, you can upgrade your knowledge, you can go in depth on some topics, you can get, specific workshops, so again, and also on the topic of lifelong learning. So, and I think that university, the workshop that we're speaking about is pretty much letting us understand that university already did understand this, and it is already going out from the classrooms, from the university, in order to meet in the society outside, other university, and to develop different kind of educational models. We need to start thinking about different kind of educational models, and university can lead into this kind of experience. That's my understanding. Of course, and it has to be international. It cannot not be international. And the museum is starting to be also, an educational place where you can learn a lot. So having a workshop in a museum, for example, is an incredible experience for the students because they get different inputs, not only from the interaction they have together, but also from the place. So that would be, that is very, very interesting. And it is outside of the conventional, classrooms of university. And I think university is already understanding this, so it is creating this kind of opportunity. It's a space to explore.
So I completely agree. So please put in your agenda the future workshops for the next summer. The problem is always that the summer in Finland is in June or July when you have examinations, but we will find a way. And normally for them, August is already the starting of autumn, but this is also what is interesting about international and intercultural activities. So thank you very much for your attention. I don't know if there are any curiosities or questions or comments that you would like to share with us. or if you feel to be the next students that could display your projects in a museum or in a square or in an event or in a conference. Please. Let me try to repeat it. Yeah. Okay. So we did some first prototypes. I can say I looked to Ilaria because she was also the scientific project manager of this project. So we did some tests and some prototypes here before shipping everything inside the lab movie, the lab image. Now it's the name, Laboratorio Immagini of Politecnico. And this was not in scale, it was not with a huge screen, but it was to give an idea of the kind of experience we wanted to offer. Marco? Then probably also at CamerAnebbia in your office, you did some tests and some prototypes. Marco? Collina? We have this microphone. Yeah? Laura is giving you the power. So, no.
Okay. So I didn't listen the question from the students,
did you do some which kind of test prototypes in order to check? Yeah.
Yes, we tested in scale here in the studio with 5 little monitors and sensor. Sorry, and but we made one-to-one scale test in another space with the services that with the service the audio video service that rent all the hardware for Bilbao. So before they send all the hardware in Bilbao, we test it with the final video and the final fine-tuning things for the sensor. And after, the same people that mount all the installation here in Milan comes to Bilbao and remount over there and remount over there the installation, the hardware.
And also at that time, Marco and the partners of CamerAnebbia were ill, so they were supposed to go to Bilbao. You were Marco, in order.
I
the
remember,
end, the final result, but at the end only the technical team went with the van, transporting the screens and the sensor and building up the exhibition. And so you saw the exhibition only on distance.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
So he will go to Wolfsburg in Germany to see it.
Sure. It's nearest, and I hope don't be again or still here, because it's a circle. It's, also today is a little bit. I'm feel a little bit ill with the fever, and 1 year ago I was ill too, and also my colleague Lorenzo, and we cannot come.
In any case, we went. Our part of the team went to the opening, and we arrived 1 day in advance because we really wanted to see if everything was fine, and we wanted to see how it was the experience of the visitor. So thinking and looking to the visitor, the impression was probably, that, for example, that ETH it's the most influential technical university in Europe, was a little bit prominent, was a little bit to us. And so we saw that there was a certain, the idea that also visitors that were just walking by, they were not stopping, they were activating the content. So it's also interesting. So that means that the landscape was never quiet, but it was very often on move. Other observation that we did, we tried to ask to move ETH away, but it was a tower that was, I don't know how many meters high. Yeah, here you can see. And so you can see that we were quite close. On the other side, we had, yeah. And here you can see that we had the list of the projects, and thanks to the QR codes, there could be a multi-level experience of the visitors. So what some parts, some contents could be experienced directly on the screen, some could be added thanks to mobile phones. And here also with this kind of talks, the idea is to start from the event of the exhibition, but to create a multi-channel experience for also different kind of targets, not only for the one like Marco that were not able to go to Bilbao, but also for a wider public. Here you can see this is on the other side is Tokyo. Yeah, and for example, we didn't check, for example, the sign, Autofficina Futuro. We like this kind of visual identity, a little bit contemporary, but also vintage, with this kind of neon light. But we didn't like at all this transparent surface. In our idea, it was plain and it was on the wall. And not all the elements are, you are able to control them, especially if you are far away. So when we arrived, we wanted to try to hide it directly from the wall, but it was impossible. One day in advance for this, it was impossible to check anything. Other questions? So thank you very much. I hope will call us again for another exhibition, and that you will be the next one that will be involved in the future adventure. So, of course, really. Also because he's always driving with these prototypes and this part of the collection that was showcased was part of the private collection of Lord Foster. And I invite you to two future talks. One talk will be organized by Professor Fausto Brevi together with some other guests, and it will be on the 20th, okay, next Tuesday, 20th of December, and there will be a third one that will conclude this very short cycle of seminars. Very much. Thank you.